it's not the big things that we do. Say sometimes people look at me and they say, I can't do what Linda Sarsour does. Like, why am I even gonna try? Like, and I keep telling people, I was you 25 years ago. I was just a regular person, a regular mom from Brooklyn, and I was doing things with 5 people, right? You would get your friends, your cousins, and you say, today we're going to do a little fundraiser for Palestine, and we're going to give our money to a charity organization. Maybe we raised $1,700, maybe we raised $4,000, whatever it was, say it mattered. And then little by little, it grows, and it grows, right?
You are now listening to the Arab Is Me podcast.
The views and opinions expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the Arab Is Me or its host, Durrah. If it's haram, that's between them and God. If it's ayib, that's on them. And if it's anything else, just remember, it wasn't us. Yalla, enjoy the show.
Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome to the Arab Is Me podcast, where we have real Arab with real stories and real conversations. My name is Durrah. I am the host of the Arab Is Me podcast. I want to thank all of you, whether you are watching or listening. We appreciate you. We appreciate all of your support. And thank you so much for keeping this podcast going. You can do a little bit more, though, by making sure that you like, share, and subscribe. And in addition to that, make sure you're leaving ratings. We want all of these hosting platforms to know that Arab love Arab and that the content is appreciated. So make sure you're leaving those positive ratings and those positive comments. You have to know by now how the algorithm works on social media and all forms of media. So please make sure you're doing that for us. We really appreciate it. It lets us know that you're there, that you have our back, and we'll keep trying to pump out this content for you all. So not only the world maybe learns a little bit about Arab, but Arab learn about Arab. And that's really the goal of this podcast. Today's guest is somebody who honestly doesn't need a last name when we mention it. Because when we say Linda, we know we're talking about Linda Sarsour. Mashallah, she's done so much work within the Arab American community over the last couple decades. Not only did she have this amazing book, We Are Not Here to Be Bystanders, but she has been doing a lot within the Arab American community and many communities outside of the Arab American communities, which I have a feeling you're going to hear a little bit about in today's episode. Linda describes herself as a pure New Yorker, born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. She is a Muslim Palestinian American activist. She is a community organizer. She's a direct action strategist. She's also a mother of 3. And now, mashallah, she's even sittu Linda. She is now a grandmom. So we're so happy for her and her family. I want to tell you a little bit more about Linda Sarsour because, mashallah, she's done a lot. I'm even going to cheat off my cheat sheet here because there's so many different things that she's done, mashallah. First of all, she is the co-founder of the first Muslim online organizing platform known as Empower Change. She is also co-founder of Until Freedom, an organization, if you recall, that was on the front lines in Louisville, Kentucky during the police murder of Breonna Taylor. She also is the national co-chair for the Women's March on Washington, which just so happened to be the largest single-day protest in the history of these United States, mashallah. In addition to that, she's been named to the 500 of the most influential Muslims in the world. Fortune got a little jealous of that, and they called her one of the 50 greatest leaders. Time magazine called her one of the 100 most influential people in the world. But Linda has been doing such amazing things, including being the youngest woman and first Muslim to receive the Margaret Brent Medal at St. Mary's College. She's been honored by dozens of local and national entities, including the 2023 Daughter of Greatness Award that she received from the Muhammad Ali Center, and also the 2025 Vanguard Award from the historic Malcolm X and Betty Shabazz Center in New York. Linda Sarsour has been doing so much, and we only pray that God continues to protect her and bless her because of the tremendous amount of strides that she has been making in the community over the last couple decades, and the amount of teams and partners that she has worked with and coalitions that she's built It's been really a tremendous ride to be a part of, to watch, to support. And we're so happy to have Linda Sarsour on the Arab Is Me podcast. So without further ado, let's get to the episode. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, welcome Linda Sarsour. Linda Sarsour, how are you?
Assalamu alaikum. I'm fabulous. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
Alhamdulillah, we're so happy to have you here on Arab Is Me. We're thankful for the time that you're giving us here today. Before we get too deep into things, Linda, just like every other what I call azuma to Arab Is Me, we start as if we're at the sofra. So this allows me to ask a question that I don't think I've asked you in the past. I don't know how deep we've gotten into these conversations, but if the Durrah folks are coming to the Sarsour house, I need to know, Linda, what's on the sofra?
So that depends. First, when you come over, ahlo sahla, anytime. من قعدتي معنا في الصالون. First, we'll bring you something cold to drink, maybe a bit of makhlouta, as we are waiting to set up the dinner table. Because if you're going to come to our house, you're going to have a dinner, and our dinner will have maklube, waraq dawali, saniyat kifte, just a little bit for everybody, not so make sure everybody has something on the table, some salatat, and then afterwards, of course, we'll have some chnafit, not knafit, chnafit. Afterwards, بعدين قهوة عربية فواكه. We'll have a good time.
Okay. All right. Yeah, good answer, mashallah. So I want to start right off the bat with some kind of recent news. And I heard your travel plans changed for this summer.
Yes.
And for those that don't know, can you tell us a little bit what happened?
Sure. So I was planning on traveling to Palestine this summer with my family, and there is a new process where you have to file some sort of online application to get approved even for the travel. I did it. I got approved. A week later, I get an email that says due to some change in circumstances, nothing changed. I was the same person, same application, no information changed. They revoked my document that would basically allow me to even get on a flight to go to Ben Gurion airport. And that's really it. And then afterwards, I didn't really want to make anything of it. I'm not one of those people. I don't need the, PR around it. I already know Israel's an apartheid state. So that's just no reason for me to get myself into any extra drama than I'm in drama every day. Next thing you know, the Israeli government was actually the one that put the information out that they are the ones that revoked my entry. So they talked, I had to talk. And that's how my story got out.
So, people say all the time, what's it like to be a Palestinian? And if there was ever a moment that can illustrate what it's like to be a Palestinian, it's moments like this. And so I want to ask you, Linda, straight up, as a human being, as a Palestinian, American, Muslim from Brooklyn, what does it feel like to be told you can't go home?
I am the great granddaughter of Palestinians. I am from a village in the West Bank called El Bire, and I have had the honor, Saeed, and the privilege of going to Palestine many times to see the olive trees of my grandparents, to see their gardens, to sit amongst the elders. I've been able to have the privilege and honor and praying in Al-Aqsa Mosque. And so a part of me felt devastated. I felt sad. But at the same time, I also had to reflect on the fact that I have done things in Palestine and have had the privilege of going that millions of other Palestinians in diaspora have not. There are refugees just in places like Jordan, second, third, fourth generation Palestinian refugees who have never been to Palestine. So a part of me almost felt like guilty for feeling sad and devastated, because I know there are so many Palestinians in the world that would wish that they have done the things that I've been able to do in Palestine. So it just makes you feel less human. Like, why can't I go to my grandparents, my great grandparents' home? Why can't I go to the home of my parents? Who gets to decide for any other people in the world? And I think Palestinians it's literally like we are the only people that this gets decided for. We get denied entry to our homeland. And so for me, it reminds me once again that being Palestinian, honestly, like our existence is resistance. Like there are people that do not want us to exist, and they are trying to separate our hearts, our minds, just all of our relations to our homeland. They want us to forget our homeland, and no denial of me entering Palestine will ever take Palestine out of my heart. There are children across the world that have never been to Palestine, who are third, fourth, fifth generation, and they love Palestine as if they've lived there, they've been there. Like, Palestine is not just a place for us, it's in our hearts. Like, I walk around with Palestine with me every single day. I think about Palestine, I think about the people of Palestine, I think about the people of Gaza, literally multiple times a day. So I feel sad, I feel devastated, I feel dehumanized. This idea of separating family. So now my family is in Palestine and I'm here. It's not okay. It's just not okay. But I know that one day, Saeed, we're all going to go together to a free Palestine, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Very soon.
Inshallah very soon. Inshallah fil Aqsa, and have some manish on the way out.
That's right.
But there are going to be Arab, Linda, quite honestly, I can hear them in my head already, that are going to be saying to themselves, Yee, شوفوا ايش صار مع Linda, شفتوا ايش صار مع Linda. I don't want this to happen to me. So خلاص مش رح اروح. I'm not going to try because شفتوا ايش صار مع Linda. إذا هيك بيصير مع Linda, what are they going to do with me? So they almost take your story and they flip it into a way to not be motivated to go. What would you say to those people?
I would say anyone who has the opportunity to go to Palestine, take that opportunity, stay connected to the homeland. Palestine, I've been to, alhamdulillah, I've had the privilege and honor of going and traveling to many countries in the world, and there are such beautiful places. I've been to, countries in North Africa, in South America, Central America, in Europe. There is nothing like Palestine. There is nothing like where you are from, where the olive trees, the oranges, being able to literally pick figs off a tree and eat it directly, not even pass it by water. Like, our land is beautiful. It is fertile. The people there, Saeed, like I always say to people, that our people are very simple people. They sit on verandas, or what we would call porches, in the United States. They drink some tea, they eat some, roasted watermelon seeds, and they're full of stories and full of conversation. And in my village, for example, during the summertime, every single night we have a sahra. It is the kind of like a bachelor party the night before a wedding, where the women are also present, but it's really a kind of a celebration for the groom and his friends and men in the community. It's like a street party every night. Just people eating corn on the side of it literally shut down a street, or it's in the schoolyard of a school that they shut down in the evening. Our country is incredible. It's full of history. It's literally like a feeling. Like, I can't describe it unless you go there and to feel what it feels like, just to be there, just to breathe air, right? Just to walk through, the hisbe, which is like our vegetable market, right? That's in our village. Like, I can smell cucumbers, I can smell tomatoes. Like, in the United States, you go to a supermarket, it smells like plastic in there. Like, you don't actually get to experience, right, the freshness of our lands. And that is all grown out of our land. Like, in Palestine, there isn't that much imports that come in. So when you're eating the cucumbers, you're eating the tomatoes, they're literally grown in fertile land in Palestine. So please don't ever be deterred. Whatever happens to me doesn't mean it's going to happen to others. But if we all think that it's going to happen, then we stop going to our homeland. The other thing is economics. Like, the summertime, just so people know, is when our people make money, right? It's when the shop owners in Ramallah, where the street vendors are making potentially 2/3 of their annual incomes because of tourism that comes from Palestinian Americans who are visiting their families back home. So please, they need you there in the summer. They need you. You are literally having a great time, being reunited with your families. But believe it or not, you're also helping families there, make their annual incomes. And they tell us that. Like, when I go to Ramallah, people tell us, like, this 3-4 months in the middle of the year, between about early May to maybe late August, early September, this is when people make the most money, particularly those who are small business owners.
Yeah. And I was hoping, Linda, because I've told this story to a few people, because you told it to me, that maybe you can share it with us real quick, under this idea that, to your point, that the Palestinians that are there are waiting to, like, somehow just receive, from the people that are from, tourists that are just there to, like, give and give. And it's like, you've made this point to me before, and you told me this story about they're not there to like quote unquote take advantage of tourists, like so many tourist places. They're there to still stick to their business, to make their sales, to sell you their bread. Even so many times I've gone into places and dukkans and asked, how good is the bread? And they say here, and they just say, take it, knowing full well, you know, they're having trouble just making ends meet, and they're just hospitable and gracious. And can you tell us the story of the kid who was trying to do a gum business? It's one of my favorite stories. I would love for people to hear it.
You know, Saeed, our people are a people of great dignity and pride. Like, our people don't want handouts. And you know this from working at refugee camps, right? Like, they wanna give you everything that they have. They want to feed you what they have. These are our people. And so there was a time when one year when I went to Palestine, I was in Ramallah in the town square, and there were these little boys that were selling gum. They in Palestine, they call them taxi gum. They're kind of equivalent to like Wrigley's. And you know, it's 5 shekels for 5 or 1 shekel for 1. And you know how it is. Sometimes you come in as an American and you're being a little pretentious. At least that wasn't my intention, but I think that's how it kind of came off. And so I passed by this one little kid wearing like this little tight little shirt, and he's wearing little flip flops. And I flipped him 5 shekels, which is like a little coin. And for 5 shekels, technically, that's 5 gums. But it was like 5 shekels to me as an American is like, at that time, it was about $1. And so I flipped him 5 shekels and I kept walking. And then I realized at some point that there was a kid behind me calling me, being like, sister, but like, ukhti. And I was like, is that me? And I turned back, and it's this little kid that's probably not older than 6 years old, who's probably there from another village. And I turned around, and he literally looked me in the eye, Saeed, and I will never forget this, with almost rage. He was so outraged at me. He said, listen to me here. He said, you either take your 5 shekels back or you take these 5 gums. And I was so embarrassed. I felt so much shame in that moment. I took the 5 gums and I didn't even know what to say. Like, I was speechless. I didn't even respond verbally. And I took the gums and I walked away. This is a child who was telling me, I'm not a beggar, right? And he told me that. He said, I'm not a beggar. He literally said to me, I am not a beggar, I'm a businessman. That's what he said. And he's selling gum in the street. And that's how, so he said, you either take your 5 gums or you take your 5 shekels back. So when he said to me, I'm not a beggar, I'm a businessman, that's it. I had nothing to say. I didn't say I'm sorry. I was speechless. I took my gums and I walked away. And he is the embodiment of who our people are. As young as a 6-year-old that stood tall to me. And mind you, he's a very petite, small, skinny little 6-year-old telling me I'm not a beggar, I'm a businessman. And again, that's just who our people are. And I put my head down in shame. I walked away, and I never did that again, because I know that our people are a people of pride. They don't want people looking down on them, and they will make $1 out of 15 cents. That's the kind of people that we come from.
Exactly. No, I love that story. And I think of those stories whenever we have to go out to the voting booths and we have to mark down our votes for people who also see the beauty in our culture and in our people, and understand things that happen in Gaza are wrong. What's happening in Lebanon is wrong. And so you've had a lot of victories with all of us recently, for a lot of folks that are trying to get themselves to a position of power within Congress. And so I really think that this is one of the most overlooked parts of the Arab community, in that there's a lot of people that are hustling, but then there's a lot of people who are just sharing WhatsApp news and thinking, khalas, ish and sawi, there's nothing we can do. Khalas, humma, this is how they are, sharing conspiracy theories on why we'll never succeed and we'll never do this. But there's a lot of hustle out there. And so I was hoping you can shed light on the fact that there is this hustle happening. And I know that there's even a couple races that are coming up. If you're willing to even talk briefly about who we need to be out there for, not just on the day of the election, but who we need to be out knocking doors for, and who we need to be out there picking up phones at phone banks for.
That's right. You know, one of the things, Saeed, that I talk a lot about in our community is that everything's important. You know, your podcast is important, storytelling, making sure that people continue to know who we are, that we're telling our own stories on our own terms. There's the protesting, going outside and coming outside in the thousands to remind people that Palestine is an important issue to us, that there's a connection between us as Americans in this country and this unjust genocide and continued brutal military occupation that is literally funded by the American people. And when you go out and protest, it keeps the issue alive. It tells people we did not forget and we need to continue to work on this issue. So these things, so it's not an either or thing. The third piece that I think is where our community has become a bit more sophisticated in is this idea of political engagement. So we're protesting, that's one thing. We're doing, going to the offices and telling people stop, funding, genocide or end military aid to Israel. But now we need the leaders, right, to stop sending aid to Israel, right? And so that requires us to participate in elections. And votes do matter, Saeed, because around this country, there are literally people that wake up every day trying to figure out how to weaken the Black vote, to gerrymander districts, right? To try to, create conspiracy theories about elections and talk about fraud and all these things because they want to maintain power. And though often those are the people who are supporting apartheid and they support genocide and unjust wars. And so this has been an incredible year for pro-Palestinian activism on the political side. We saw, for example, Dr. Adam Hamawi in New Jersey's 12th district. This is a man who went to Gaza in the height of genocide, like literally in 2024, in the height of the genocide. This is a man who's a surgeon who is literally sewing people's limbs back together. And when he was told that he had to leave, that it was becoming a lot more dangerous because he was an American citizen, he said, I will not leave until someone takes my place. I'm not just going to leave these people here. And he is Arab American, he's not Palestinian. And so this is a man who came back and said, I'm going to be the change I want to see. I'm not going to complain anymore about how Congress is not doing what they're supposed to do. I'm going to run for Congress. And guess what? He's going to Congress. He won in his district. And he didn't just win because the Arab and Muslims voted for him. His message of healthcare, not bombs, reached people across the district. And he won actually by close to 10 percentage points. Daria Liza, Avila Chevalier, she was one of the co-founders of the Columbia University encampment, which you remember was the first student encampment during 2024. She is a young Dominican American Muslim who was a PhD student at Columbia, a friend of Mahmoud Khalil's, and she was running an encampment. She was organizing for Palestine as someone who is not Palestinian, saying, I'm going to risk my PhD, I'm going to risk my status at Columbia University, and I'm going to organize regardless of what my university says. And guess what? She ran for Congress against the chair of the Hispanic caucus. People said, you are all out of your mind if you think that this young Dominican woman who was on Columbia's campus, who was, raging against apartheid and genocide is going to Congress, like that she's going to win. And guess what, Saeed? She won. Claire Valdez won. Brad Lander took out Dan Goldman, and he won. Chris Rabb in Pennsylvania's 3rd district. Like, this is a man who every time somebody asked him a question that had nothing to do with Palestine or anything related, he would say, before I answer your question, F-A-PAC. That's how he starts. And people said, this man's out of his mind. There's no way that he's going to Congress. He's going to Congress. Maylak Quiros in Colorado. Saeed, she was an attorney in New York City during the height of genocide. She wrote an op-ed basically defending the right to free speech for students on college campuses. Her firm was like, you better unpublish that right now. She said, I absolutely will not, because I'm a lawyer and I'm literally writing about the Constitution of the United States of America. That's why I'm a lawyer, to defend the Constitution. They said, take it down or you're fired. She said, well, I guess I'm fired then. So she got fired and went back to her hometown of Denver. And she said she could have been like, you know what? I'm trying to be a fancy lawyer. I'm going to be quiet now because now I feel intimidated. She said, oh, absolutely not. I'm running for Congress. I'm running against a 30-year incumbent. People said, Maylak Quiros, a young Ethiopian American lawyer, you're running against a 30-year incumbent, not going to happen. And she won, Saeed. She won big in Denver. So my point is to say that I want people to know that it does matter when you participate, right? And to believe in people. You could believe in a young PhD student in New York City who's Dominican and Muslim, that she can win. Because when we believe, Saeed, we can make anything happen. You know, there's a beautiful quote that I read once from Muhammad Ali that said that impossible is nothing. Impossible is an opinion. Impossible is a dare. Like, there is nothing impossible if we're willing to do the work. And so coming up, there are more elections. And there were other people that won that I could list, but I wanted to highlight the ones that had really incredible stories related to Gaza that really radicalized them and told them, I want to go to Congress. Upcoming elections that I think people need to pay attention to. Dr. Abdullah Sayed, he could be the first Muslim United States Senator. He has been a vocal supporter of the Palestinian people. He has been unequivocally against genocide. He has been criticizing money in politics, particularly AIPAC's influence in politics. He is a doctor. He is a public health advocate. A Arab American, you name it. He really is the leader that we deserve. And guess what? He is looking good. But you know what? Nothing is guaranteed because polls don't vote, people do. And so if you have the opportunity, particularly if you are Arab American, Muslim American, and really want to see someone like Dr. Abdul or someone who is an ally of the Palestinian people, we need Dr. Abdul. And we need a young person like him to go in and fight for us and to fight for a just foreign policy. So his primary election is coming up August 4th. If you could make it to Michigan to knock doors, we need you there. If you can phone bank from wherever you are in the country, go to his website and sign up for a phone bank. Money. AIPAC already spent $37 million to support his opponent, who's basically a woman named Haley Stevens, who's a sitting member of Congress. She literally one time said, on the record, these are videos people can find, she literally said, Israel comes to me in my dreams. Like, this lady is like, she didn't even know how much to say to AIPAC that she wants to defend Israel, that she literally said that when she's sleeping at night, Israel comes to her in her dreams. Like, that's what we're up against here. So there's also, of course, Cori Bush. Many people remember in 2024, AIPAC spent almost $9 million in her district to take her out because she was an unequivocal support of the Palestinian people. She wasn't just a little bit in support. She was fundamentally believed that Palestine was connected to domestic issues, and that how are we going to fight for healthcare in the US if we are over here funding a brutal military occupation with our tax dollars? Like, she could be funding schools in St. Louis, but instead our government is funding free healthcare in Israel. Like, this is a woman who used her platform, who took a lot of political risks. So AIPAC took her out in 2024. So she's back. She's back, and she is going up against her opponent, Wesley Bell, who was literally installed there by a lot of AIPAC money. And, she wants to, this is a referendum on AIPAC. And so our community needs to help her because she was there for us. She stood with us. And this is time for us to stand with people that are courageous like Cori Bush. And there are many other races around the country, but I think those two in particular is where we need our people to focus. So Cori Bush in St. Louis and Dr. Abdul Sayed in the great state of Michigan.
I sometimes argue, Linda, that while it's amazing to convince someone named Muhammad or Ahmad or Yasmin to think about us, the true game changes when you convince somebody named Jonathan or Sally to think about our people and think about our causes. And I always tell people, I say, look, when we get our own people into Congress, that's amazing. And that is a game we should continuously play. But the game changer is where we get people who know nothing of us other than the fact that they saw us show up for them and that we applauded their thoughts and their feelings and their votes and how they showed up for us. And so can you speak just for a second on something we can tell everyone on the kind of the path that they can go to find out who these people are and to kind of catch them early when they're in these county council meetings and supporting them then, to support them when they're running for a major office, alhamdulillah, that's great. But when you see them in your local county, in your local district, talking that talk, saying, yeah, we got to get around this AIPAC money. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Absolutely. Well, first I want to say, Saeed, that solidarity is a verb, right? It's an action. And we have to understand as Palestinian Americans, Arab Americans, Muslim Americans, that we also live here in the United States of America. And our neighbors are also struggling, right? Our neighbors are also under attack. And you remember that one year when I came to a big concert fundraiser that you were doing, and you picked me up basically off the side of a road. And I was doing this march from New York City to Washington, D.C. That march wasn't about Palestine. That was a march after the brutal murder of Eric Garner by the NYPD, where he was literally choked to death. And in a video that everybody watched, said, "I can't breathe" 11 times. And a police officer continued to choke him. He was a father. He was someone's grandfather. And so as a Palestinian American, I was on that march, right, in solidarity with Black folks who were absolutely horrified that this country would watch a video like that. And the police officer who killed Eric Garner was still on the force. He was just regular, like nothing ever happened, like his life didn't matter. And that same year was when Mike Brown in Ferguson was killed. And that was a year where an 18-year-old black boy sat in the August sun. He was shot and killed by Officer Darren Wilson, and literally blood poured out of his body. They put the sticker, whatever you call those things, the little lines around him. They didn't let his mom even come touch him, see if he had a pulse. There was no ambulance. And then 4 hours later, after he literally roasted in the hot August sun, they picked him up and rolled him into the back of an SUV. And that, Saeed, for us as Palestinian Americans, the disregard of human life. Like Mike Brown is someone's son. Eric Garner was someone's father. He was someone's grandfather. So if there's anyone in the world, Saeed, that understands the dehumanization of basically looking at people and saying they're not even worth, right, treating them like they're human beings. Like, we would treat animals better than the way they treated Mike Brown and Eric Garner. Who knows that better than us as Palestinians? And so for me, solidarity for me is natural. And so you show up for people. You don't show up with conditions. You don't say, I'm going to fight for Mike Brown. Only if you fight for Palestinians. That's not how solidarity works. And when you're in these spaces, say, when you show up for our undocumented families who are literally being kidnapped in our community, they're literally either kidnapping undocumented immigrants or they're killing them. Just in this last period, a 53-year-old grandfather and father in Texas was the quote not intended target, was shot and killed by ICE. Just the other day in Maine, a young 28-year-old also father who was actually quote unquote had U.S. A work authorization. It to me doesn't matter if you have work authorization or not, because you shouldn't still be killed by ICE agents. But the point was, he also wasn't in the intended target. So ICE can go around killing people and being like, oops, that's not the guy we wanted. This is not okay. And so I think, Saeed, for us, the way that we are able to bring people into our movement is also by showing solidarity with our neighbors, right? And then people will look over at you, Saeed, and say, hey, where are you from? And Saeed can say, I'm from Maryland. And they'll be like, well, where are you from? And then you say, I'm Palestinian. And then people start trying to figure out where you're from, what your story is. And then that's when the connections happen. When I went to Ferguson, first of all, I never heard of Ferguson. I didn't even know there was a place in this country called Ferguson. But when I showed up as a woman in hijab, right, and I was in the midst of all of the organizing that was happening there, you don't think people looked over at me and they're like, hey, where are you from? And I'm like, me, I'm from New York City. I'm from Brooklyn. They were like, I know, but where are you from? Because they knew by my accent where I was from. But then I was like, I'm Palestinian. And then these stories connect. And then you remember during the time of Mike Brown in particular, back in 2014, there was attacks on Gaza. And the Palestinian kids on Twitter were sending advice to the black kids in Ferguson, telling them, wash your eyes out with milk when they tear gas you, right?
Mm-hmm.
The plastic 2-liter bottle, make cutouts so when you go out, in front of the National Guards and other, that you have something to protect your eyes and your face. They were giving them all these, and that's solidarity, right? Like how is it that the kids in Gaza found affinity and solidarity with kids all the way in the United States that they may never ever see, and then we don't also do the same thing as Palestinian Americans here? Same thing when I went to Kentucky for Breonna Taylor. People, I didn't go there and be like, before I come here to fight for Breonna Taylor, please raise your hand if you believe in a free Palestine. That's not how this works. But when I got there, Saeed, people would ask me where I was from. We would have stories. We'd share, like, all of us, how we got there, why we're there. And guess what? During genocide, people in Kentucky that I was organizing with would send me videos and pictures showing us that they're outside protesting for Gaza. I didn't tell them to do that. I didn't ask them to do that. But that is how solidarity happens. You show up for one another. And so, alhamdulillah, now we're seeing that. People showing up for the Palestinian people. People running for Congress saying, I don't want that AIPAC money. I'm going to fight for Palestinian liberation. I'm going to work to end military aid to Israel. It's not just a thing that happens. It requires relationship building. It requires us, Saeed, to unequivocally tell our stories and to not be ashamed of who we are. If you're Palestinian, make sure people know that. Tell them what it means to be Palestinian. And people are very moved by our story. And you'll find that a lot of people connect regardless of what marginalized community you come from.
But, I do get worried sometimes, and I'm curious your thoughts on this. I do get worried that sometimes people assume social media visibility equals impact, and that's the only way. And I feel like at times folks are rewarding that. Even I'll give it a very quick example. I remember sitting with a group of, folks, and they were talking about they were having an event and they wanted to give out this award. And so one of them kind of smiled at me and said, we're thinking about giving out this award for somebody who's really kind of been doing a lot of amazing work for Palestine and raising a lot of money and so they're telling me this story, Linda, and I'm kind of smiling a little bit, and I was like, I think they're trying to give me this award. That's nice, And then the lady was just like, so Saeed, I kind of feel weird saying it this way, and I said, okay, what's up? I'm getting myself ready, and she said, do you know anybody who would fit that criteria? And I was like, oh. I was like, you threw me off. I thought, because Linda, I've never won an award. So I was like really happy. And so I was like, I thought, and they're like, no, because, for the event, we really want there to try to sell a lot of tickets. And so we want somebody who maybe has bigger social media, kind of get people around this thing. And so when they said that to me, I've probably never even told any of my family this. Like I was genuinely hurt, and I was like, you're telling me that anything I've ever done is nothing because you want social media following around the person you're giving an award to. And it wasn't just that one moment that made me think this. But I was genuinely like, I was cut deep on that one. And so I wanted to ask you, are there times where you feel that we are kind of giving in a little bit to looking at like the big pop and stuff and a lot of noise as that? Because I feel like when we speak to some of the youth, they're chasing the folks that are doing the pop. And I'm not saying all those people, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not putting anything out there, but they're assuming that that's impact. And meanwhile, we got Linda Sarsours of the world who never even brought up creator influencer when you were in the hustle and in the grind back in the day. Not saying you're not now, but when you first started, that stuff wasn't there. And I guarantee 99.99% of what people think they know about you, they don't, because you're behind the scenes hustling and shaking hands and showing up and being there and that hustle. So that's my 45-minute Arabi style question here, Linda. Do you feel sometimes that we are looking more at who's kind of out there and visible and chasing that model versus the impact relationship built model?
Mm-hmm. The world has evolved so much, Saeed, right? We're in like what we call the TikTok era, right? The virality, who's the most viral, right? Who moves the most information on the internet. But I also see, the pros and cons, right, to that. I do believe that content creators, the ones that have the courage to use their platforms to talk about things like Palestine, knowing that they could lose brand deals, that they could, lose a lot of the quote income that people are incentivized by the internet, right? So a lot of people who have the big followings, the reason why they build those followings, like YouTube subscribers and things like that, is hoping that this brings in and generates some income. So I do commend those that do have the large followings who are using their platforms for Palestine. But I also think what it does, it creates this kind of false imagery for particularly young people that your impact is only based on how much social media followers you have or how many likes you get on the internet. I happen to have a social media following, Saeed, and I'm grateful for it. But I built that by doing the work, by being outside. And so I think I don't want people to mistake that it's just about being on the internet. I think the internet is an informative place. And I do appreciate when even people who don't have large social media followings are posting articles for their friends, their colleagues, people in their network, their fellow classmates, to kind of see what their positions are, right? But at the same time, we got to be outside, Saeed. We got to be doing the actual work. There are people in our communities that need us, right? And there are many powerful things that we could do together. Like when you're organizing a rally, for example, a lot of people think it's like you post a flyer on the internet and that's it, boom, the people show up. That's not how this works, right? You got to call organizations, you call organizers in the community, you make sure that people have the information. How are you going to get this to the local community centers? Are you going to the college campuses? Are you organizing the student groups? So when you see rallies where there's like 50,000 people, it's not often that just organic, that people just rolled up. Yes, some people did see the flyer and they did show up. For me, the actual traditional organizing, and maybe I'm grateful, right, that I grew up at a time as an organizer where we didn't have Twitter, right? There was no Facebook. I came out into the kind of organizing world in the horrific aftermath of the attacks on 9/11. And so there was no Facebook, Twitter, there was no TikTok, there was nothing. So you wanted to do something in the community, you best to believe we were calling people on the phone or literally knocking on people's doors or going to the masjid on Fridays and doing outreach, or even going to the businesses or standing outside a Beledi supermarket, right? Like that was how you had to organize. And I think we lost a little bit of that. And I think I want people to also know quickly that it's not the big things that we do. Say sometimes people look at me and they say, I can't do what Linda Sarsour does. Like, why am I even gonna try? Like, and I keep telling people, I was you 25 years ago. I was just a regular person, a regular mom from Brooklyn, and I was doing things with 5 people, right? You would get your friends, your cousins, and you say, today we're going to do a little fundraiser for Palestine and we're going to give our money to a charity organization. Maybe we raised $1,700, maybe we raised $4,000, whatever it was, Saeed, it mattered. And then little by little, it grows, and it grows, right? Sometimes you have a woman refugee that came to your community and the community rallies around her and you buy her a stroller for her little baby and you are making sure that she has the food that she needs in her home. That is impact. That is not, you don't have to feed 10,000 families to feel like you're doing something. Sometimes helping a few families is more than enough to do. And I think also teaching our young people, take your kids to rallies. Let your kids be exposed to the things that are happening around them. Don't shelter your children from the injustice. Don't say we're not going to talk about Gaza in front of them. They need to understand the history and why this is happening and what's happening to those kids. You don't have to make your privileged kids feel guilty, but that type of education. So I say to people all the time, it's not about what's big, what's small. You just do something. Just please do something.
We are not here to be bystanders. Am I getting the title right? We are not here to be bystanders. Exactly. So let me ask you this, Linda. Looking at where you are now and what you're doing now, especially for those that are watching that are the younger generation, when you look at that and when your mom looks at you, how does that person compare to when you were a teenager? And do you look back at those times and imagine, back then I wanted to do this, I wanted to do that? Did you ever imagine you'd be doing this or be where you're at? And I just think that can be an important question so that people understand that, you know, as the saying goes, like it took 20 years to be an overnight sensation. You know, like looking back at that, where did you all see Linda Sarsour then compared to where you are now?
My big dream when I was a teenager was to be a high school English teacher. And but when I look back now at growing up and how I showed up as a young person, I'm not actually surprised where I am. I was one of the kids in my school that was like head of the debate team. I was like always like a star of whatever play was happening in my school. Growing up in public school, I was involved in a lot of activities. I was also the oldest of 7 children. I was the one that was kind of like the family social worker, caseworker, interpreter for my mother, making sure that my mother would be able to help and be engaged in my siblings' education. I would go with her to parent-teacher conference, things of that nature. I would read my mom's mail. I would make sure that my mom was able to, like, you know, write checks and bills and all that. And also for me, a lot of it was like that grit that we have as Palestinians. I was a very vocal, very like prideful kid, you know, growing up. Like I was always, you know, if I saw something that was wrong, Saeed, I would say it. That was how I was known even growing up. I was also the one that would say things to my parents. Like if I saw, you know, if my dad was saying something to a sibling, I would say, actually, that's not right, you know, or to my mom. And then my mom and dad would be like, what? And I'm like, and I would say to them, of course, in a respectful way. Like, I just didn't like to see things that I felt like were wrong. And so I think that carried on with me as I grew up. I'm here today. So I'm still the same person that I was when I was growing up. And I think being Palestinian, I'm also from Brooklyn, New York. So I think the Palestinian and the Brooklyn together, that's kind of, you know, the grit that I maintained.
So, Linda, is there ever a chance that your kids win an argument against you?
Nah, I haven't really had anyone ever win arguments against me. That's okay. It's been a challenge for many people who have made any attempts.
Okay. All right. Good. All right, so we've reached the portion of the event, and obviously I'm going to put all the social media, I'm going to put all of that on the screen, so everybody, mashallah, whether it be Until Freedom, Next 250 US, Empower Change, lindasarsour.com, at Linda Sarsour, or at El Sarsour, I'm sorry. So we'll have that all on there, but we have the Al-Bab portion, which is the rapid fire scenarios and questions. And we tie this into the charity you selected, Beit al-Mal. Tell us real quick why you picked Beit al-Mal.
I love Beit al-Mal. I've been with them on a few missions and just listened to the people on the ground that they've helped. And I've been very moved by their commitment. They're also their theory of change and their sustainability projects that I've been able to visit time and time again. So I love them and I hope that you support them.
Okay, awesome. And we'll put that link on the screen. So, Al-Bab, we're ready to go. But listen, mashallah, we have questions. So hopefully this is fun for you, Linda. We customized a couple questions. Inshallah, it'll be good, and we'll try to go quick here. Remember, if you can't answer something, or if you're like, no, then that's donation, la Beit al-Mal minnik. But if you get through these, minni from Arab is Me podcast. So, all right off the bat, are we ready to go? Let's see. Linda Sarsour, Khishna or Naama? Khishna. Okay. All right. Linda, when an Arab family invites you and your family for dinner and tells you come at 4, what time range is considered on time, and when would it be aib?
If I was invited at 4 o'clock, I'd probably show up at about 4:30, which I think is on time. And I think the aib would be like after 5 o'clock would be aib.
Wow. Okay. Mama Durrah right now is saying, no, that's not going to work for us. My mom, 401. Aib. If you're on time, you're late. All right. Hypothetically speaking, if your cousin has 5 kids and they get married, mashallah, you attend all 5 weddings and you give each, let's say, $100 as the inqut, as the gift each time. So it's a total of 500, mashallah, you've given your cousin's kids. Finally, let's say you have one child, your only child gets married. What amount would be an acceptable amount from them to give your child so it's not aib?
$500.
There you go, Arab. It's 500. Don't think 200. That's more than the per diem, or the per capita there. It's not. It's 500. Okay. Name one Arab food that always seems to taste better the next day.
Oh my God, maklouba.
Wow, that's a different one. Okay, I usually go for malfouf, but maklouba is good. All right. Here's a good one. This one's just for you. Your doctor puts you on a new diet and he says you must avoid certain foods. But that weekend you get invited to my mother's house. Mama Durrah stands with you. She fills your plate. She tells you هذا زاكي لازم تدوقيه هذا زاكي لازم تدوقيه, and you must try it. So my question for you is, are you apologizing to my mom and saying no, or are you apologizing to your doctor and saying yes?
I am not saying no to Mama Durrah. I'm eating and taking a risk to go to the hospital, but I'm eating Mama Durrah's food. I don't care what it is.
Okay, great. All right. Moving right along. If you had to eliminate one catalog of this singer's music and keep the other one, tell us that one, they're gone from history. Who are you keeping and who are you sending off? Kulthum or Fairuz?
Definitely a donation to Beit al-Mal, because this is where you get dragged on the internet. So I'm not going to make any choice between Fairuz and Kulthum. So donation to Beit al-Mal.
All right, great. Let's go quick on the last couple here. As someone who is known, mashallah, for their thobe outfit changes for weddings, if an Arab mom was marrying off her eldest son and she asked you, Linda, how many thobes do you think I should have ready for the entire marriage process with all the events? What's your response? How many thobes she needs?
Al-Kalila, like 5.
5? 5 homes.
Jablet,
All right.
there's Hinna, there's Zeffe, there's Oros. I mean, there's a lot of things going on. Sahra.
All right. All right. Real quick. If Linda, you purchased a car, mashallah, and your tire goes flat 10 minutes after you just showed some Arab your brand new car, and they were like, wow, nice, Linda, mashallah, that's great. And then your tire goes flat. Is this coincidence?
Hasad, and hasadet, and hasadet.
All right. The last couple real fast. All right. Let's say you are running an hour late for an azuma. You're running an hour late. You check the GPS or you check the Uber app, and you definitely see you are 1 hour late. And your friend messages you and says, Linda, Winik, how long before you get here? What's your response on that text?
مش بعيد هيني قريب هان.
هذا شيء.
هيني شاي. أعطيني بس شوي.
All right. The last thing that I'll say is, if you can sit anywhere in the world, and you can sit and have kasa chai or ahwa, whatever is your choice, with anybody, we'll put all religious figures to the side, but with anybody from Arab history, okay? And you can enjoy one kasa chai with them, where would you be? And who's that person from history that you would love to sit down and have that kasa chai with?
This one is a very difficult one. Who would I want to drink? That might be actually when I bring back Fairuz and Kulthum for Kasa Chai, maybe a nice little sahra on my grandfather's baranda.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Okay, great. Well, we appreciate you being on the Arab is Me podcast, Linda. As you know, inshallah, we are big fans. My mom has been very clear to me that in order, she says Linda, Muhammad Asaf, Saeed, Hala. So her kids are in third and fourth place.
Reem and Saeed for me, just so we're all clear.
All right, thanks. I feel yani so loved, mashallah. So thank you so much, Linda, for being on our Arab is Me podcast, and we'll make sure we post all the links and make sure everybody likes, shares, and subscribes and does all that good stuff. And we appreciate, of course, the support, Linda, and we'll see everybody soon on the next episode of Arab is Me podcast. Any last second thoughts, anything you want to say to the Arab community, Linda, before we go?
Like, share, and subscribe to Arab is Me podcast, because inshallah, we're going to make this the biggest Arab podcast in the world, inshallah.
Inshallah. All right. Thank you so much, Linda. Take care, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode. Salamat.